Love it. I love it. That, people, is how you don't do an intro. See, my last video, none of you saw at the beginning, and I nailed it, right? 3-point landing, hands out, all that jazz. Then, when everybody actually shows up, land flat on my face. So, tonight, people, we're going to talk about a subject that I think is probably a pretty important one. Hey, Doc. Good to see you. Tomorrow night, people, of course, is the Dr. K and Tommy show here on the Lifeboat. Tune in for that. If you haven't seen it yet, I think you'll dig it. And if you have any questions for the doc, email them to me now. Email them ahead of time. If you don't want to come on, but you want some questions answered, fire those puppies over to sober@myyahoo.com. That would be sober@myyahoo.com. Not Yahoo. myyahoo.com. This guy. Never quit quitting. All right, so people, we're going to talk about fear tonight. And fear's a mother of a subject. It's probably one of the driving forces. And the cool thing about this, the cool thing about shows on fear and shows on things like this is that this goes across every single platform of life. It doesn't matter whether or not you're an addict, right? Fear is one of the emotions that drives us most in life, and very often we get driven by fear and we don't even realize that it's happening. You know, sometimes a great work ethic is somebody that's terrified of not having enough to provide for themselves, for people they love, whatever. But very often, fear comes cloaked in a bunch of different fashions. But it's also one of the driving forces that makes getting sober such a difficult thing to do. And if you've gotten sober, you know what I mean. You know, today I was speaking with somebody in a rehabilitation facility that knows that they're going to face a period of time where they have to go into detox. And he's a sweet human being. But I asked this person, I said, are you happy in the life that you're in right now? First of all, it was a miracle that they let me talk to this person. I am not a doctor. I'm not, an LCDC in the state that this person's in, or any other state for that matter. But I mean, I carry no paper. And I got this person on the phone. And fortunately, the counselor, this person had talked to the counselor about me. And so had this person's family member. And so it was a situation that was crazy. I called and I said, I know you can't tell me if anything is going on. She was like, hold on. The person was on the phone in a second. But I said, are you happy in the life you're in? And this person said, I'm miserable. I'm absolutely miserable in the life that I'm in. This is as painful as anything in the world. I can't keep doing this. And I said, fantastic. Whatever you do, don't leave, which was the reason I was calling. And the person said, but I can't do this either. I can't face the withdrawal. And the withdrawal ain't that. It's not. I mean, take this from a 30-year junkie. Withdrawal sucks. But I've done it, I don't know how many friggin' times. The number of times I've been forced to do it because I was incarcerated. You get thrown in a cell and they're like, best of luck. Here's 3 extra pair of underwear and some extra pants. I'm not joking you at all. And some plastic bags to throw the stuff away in. It's a true story. I was doing time in a county jail, and there was a cop there that was just an unbelievable prick of misery. Just one of the least kind individuals that I've ever met. And he had a reputation as just being that guy. And he had been very, very unpleasant to me multiple times, while I was incarcerated. But I went in there once and I was sick, and he had been promoted to a better job. And he was in there and he was just visiting. It was like he was looking over whoever the normal guards were. And I had rung the bell. There's a notification button inside the cell, not in prison, but in county jail. And you hit that button and they come over a speaker and they talk to you directly from their desk. What do you want? And I said, you know what? I'm sick. I need new clothing. I need new everything. I had lost it. And he said, all right. And the door popped open and here was this dick. And this guy had picked on me. He had been the cruelest person you have ever seen. The things he said to me. And he looked at me and he goes, shit yourself? I said, yeah, and vomited on myself. And he said, and he threw like 3 or 4 pair of full sets of clothing in there. And he's like, that's for you. If you got any problems, just buzz the door. He goes, I brought a couple of extra towels. He goes, I'll be right back. So he walks off, and I'm sitting there thinking, what just happened? Because this dude's just cruel. So I thought maybe this comes along with the promotion, right? Like if this cat doesn't decide to stop being nice to people, maybe they're going to give him the boot. Like all this is churning through my dome at the time. And he comes back, and he's got 3 Hershey bars, chocolate ones. And if you've ever kicked dope of an opiate variety, chocolate will juke your brain for about 5 minutes. You eat a piece of chocolate and your brain thinks you did heroin. I'm not even joking. It will buy you relief from the worst of the worst for about 5 minutes. And then if you wait 10 or 15 minutes, you can eat another piece of chocolate and you can juke your brain again. There is something about the part of your brain that heroin works on and the part of your brain that chocolate works on that are really super similar to one another. But so this cop hands me these 3 chocolate bars, and I'm standing there. Keep in mind, the unit's locked down. I had this accident at probably 1 o'clock in the morning. So there's nobody out, and I'm standing out in front of my cell, pretty much disrobed, and with these bars of chocolate in my hands, thinking to myself, what in the name of God, have what universe have I woken up in that this is what is happening to me? And I said to him, I just couldn't, I probably should have just shut up and been that guy, but I was absolutely fascinated. And I said to him, with all due respect, is there a reason that all of a sudden you don't hate me? Because you've never been particularly nice to me. This was something that kind of blew my mind. And he said that he had a brother who got addicted to opiates. And it was such an amazing event because number one, I was just blown away. And of course it makes sense, right? It should make all kinds of sense that if you've got a relative that's struggled with something, that you're probably going to be a little bit more understanding yourself, right? That makes sense. But what he said to me blew me away. He said, I spent 2 weekends trying to get my brother sober. He said, and he couldn't do it. He said, the first time I drove him to go get dope. And he said, the second time he told me he could get it delivered and I just gave him the money. This is a cop. And where I was in the county jail, it's not just a, what do you call it? It's not just a prison guard. I mean, a county jail guard or whatever. This guy's literally a cop, right? He's a deputized member of the sheriff's department. So you don't call these guys COs or boss or anything else. You normally call them deputy because that's what they are. But it was one of those, yeah. Sorry. Thinking. Let's say hello to some people. Oh, Susie Q. Mind Game 60, Virginia. Good to see y'all. Goosebumps. Chili Phil. We've got Faces of the Moon. Hey, V. Good to see you, V. Full of hope. I'm glad that you're here, truthfully. Mind Games. Doctor. Quiet Girl. All right. Hey, Lemmy. Good to see you, brother. Valerie, happy you're here. Scoob with the doob. Looking good, Scoob. And Pagan, I'm glad you're here, hon. I really am. Oh, I missed one. DJ Daddio, what's up, Mr. T? John Doe. All right, sorry. I know I missed a few. I try to get as many as I can each time. It's one of those. Buddha. Miss Dragon. Joe. All right, so fear. So when this gentleman is talking about his brother and the fact that, he tried to help this guy get sober and he tapped out. He couldn't do it. He said, but I think I've reached a point where I'm not afraid of drug addicts. And it was, and by this point, I was actually out of the shower and I'm standing there feeling clean. I'm not having a good day. Ultra Mega, good to see you. Rip, glad you're here. Feeling like dog crap, right? But at least I'm clean and I've got a decent set of jail clothing on or whatever. But no longer afraid of the addict. So I figured the entire time this guy's been crapping on me, which is probably over the course of about 6 or 7 years now. Like I've been in there so many times. I used to get busted a lot. When you break the law all the time, you get busted constantly. And regardless of what people think, you don't get arrested and go to jail. You get arrested if your crime is nonviolent, right? If you're not hurting people, if you're just stealing things, you can get about 6 or 7 chances before they send you to prison. I would go in front of a judge. I would make a really nice, I'd make a really nice speech, and then the judge would give you probation, or you'd pay a fine or whatever. But they would let you get away with a lot of crap until they wouldn't, and then you're going away, and you're going away for a while. So, people, if you have any questions for Miss K for tomorrow, because tomorrow is Dr. K and Tommy. If you've got questions, please send them to sober@myyahoo.com. sober@myyahoo.com. Fear is an emotion that can absolutely cripple you as a human being. It really can. And it's also an emotion that can keep you trapped in addiction like very few. When you're, hey, good to see you. My brother Johnny's here. It's one of those emotions that can keep you trapped in addiction forever. And it's especially, I'm not gonna say that it is worse for any addiction. I'm not. Especially since the drugs that I was really super addicted to, I wasn't addicted to all of them. I wasn't. I abused a bunch of them, but the only one that ever really had my ticket was opiates. From Jump Street, that was a drug that just had my number, and there was nothing that I could do in any way to control myself. But it doesn't give me a lot of perspective on people who are addicted to speed. Done a lot of speed, know how the buzz is, but went to Vegas last week, won $1. Good for you. And then gave an additional $4 for the cause. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you, Susie Q. Vegas, won $1. I'll tell you what, if you leave Vegas and you're up, period, then you've done something right. It's sad to hear somebody in the throes of really wrestling with the fact that sobriety is within their grasp. Sobriety is something that they want. When they make the decision, you're going to hear us talk a lot on the Lifeboat about the window of opportunity. And when someone decides that this is it, they've reached a junction of their life where they don't want to do this anymore, that the life now is abhorrent. You sit there and you hate the life that you're living. You hate the what it takes to continue to maintain that kind of addiction is something that's really tough. And there are people for whom money's not an issue. It's still tough on them. But for people who have to come up with a large amount of money every single day, you end up cashing out parts of your soul. You do things that you never, ever would have done for any reason in your life. If somebody had told you when you were, 15 years old or 16 years old, you're going to be stealing every single day, you'd be like, what? Of course I'm not. There's no chance. If someone were to have talked to me at that time, but you will break off a piece of your soul for the purpose of obtaining the drugs. And when that kind of depth, when that kind of addiction is really taking hold and it's into you, the fear of being without that stuff, we talk about what addiction is, and addiction is something that in the face of every single rotten thing that this is bringing into your life, you continue to do the substance every single day. You continue to seek it out. You continue to lie to people about it. You continue to hide. And there are 15,000 reasons why you shouldn't be doing this, right? For me, it was, I'm getting arrested. I'm in the court system. I'm losing one really good relationship after another. A few relationships that weren't too good that I managed to bury as well. But every life that I come in contact with, I'm doing damage. And you should be, you got to quit. But for literally 10 years, what kept me continuing to do drugs was the fear of the withdrawal. And I had been through it. It's not like that was the first time I had gone through full-blown withdrawal. I don't know, 12 times in my life, 24 times in my life. But every time, the fear of the next one, the fear that it's going to be worse. And sometimes, I got to a point where I had worn my veins out. You could no longer inject heroin into your body. It just wasn't an option. I could skin pop it. I could just stick it in there. But to try to get a vein where you feel, it's not that you get high. You really don't. But what you feel is you go from being as sick as you could possibly be to being perfect. feeling fantastic. And it happens in 1 second. And that right there it's going from sick to healthy is really what the buzz becomes. By the end of it, that is what the buzz becomes. But as bad as it is for you, it's, I encourage people on the lifeboat to write a goodbye letter to their drug of choice. And one of these days I'll bring mine out again and read it. But what the drug does to you, I wrote about it in the, it was the worst possible thing that it could possibly do. It steals your family. It steals your faith. It steals everything. And the problem becomes that, you find yourself. Pagan. Thank you, Pagan. You look fantastic in green, by the way. You really do. You feel fantastic. You look fantastic in green. You find yourself seeking out what you need most. And what you need most is faith. It is. Now, before you start bailing to go to a different channel because you think I'm about to preach to you about God, I'm not. Well, I am, but I'm not. For me personally, that's where my faith starts. But it doesn't matter whether or not you believe in anything. You need to have faith that you can get through every situation that comes down the pike. If I were, I did with the Suboxone thing about a week or so back, it was going to be a $400 difference in me picking up my prescription, or I was going to have to quit for 3 days. Ain't no way in hell I'm paying that $400. I'm at a point now in my life where I'm not afraid of it. I'm not. I'll get sick. It's going to suck a little bit. I'll get sick because it is a completely different mindset. It's not about trying to, when you're on heroin, the purpose of the drug is to make you feel comfortable in your own skin. I'm comfortable in my own skin. I might be sick, but I promise you, I'll be sure as hell comfortable in my own skin because I'm no longer living in fear. And these days it's faith over fear. And that faith comes from me in so many different ways. And a huge chunk of it is faith in myself. By the time you have gotten, I don't care how much time, whether it is 7 days, whether it is 15 days, whether it is 15 years, as you get that first one under your belt, you got 24 hours. You know you can do this. For real. It's rinse and repeat. That's really what you're looking at. It's rinse and repeat. You're going to be doing the same thing over and over again. It's the reason that people in the really old 12-step programs, the ones from back in the day that are still really, really popular. Hold on. I just saw a higher power can be whatever you want it to be. Example, just try to stop away. You know what? Whatever your higher power wants to be, but the faith doesn't even have to be in a higher power. The faith can be in the bag of tricks that you have to get you through whatever the next crisis is. As you begin to get a little sobriety under your belt, and as you begin to go through some of the trials that you're going to, the doctor says smoking heroin gets into your system faster than an IV, and that is a stone cold fact. It is the fastest delivery method into the body. Make no mistake, it is the fastest delivery method into the body. But if you can rely on the bag of tricks, we talk every day in here about having a game plan for virtually everything that's going to happen to you in sobriety. Shouldn't be a shock the first time you start to feel almost like an anxiety attack, where you just start feeling anxiety for no apparent reason. It happens to everybody. At some point, everybody who's in recovery goes through those moments. So really shouldn't be a shocker, right, that this could have happened. Why not plan for it ahead of time? And we talk about how important it is. The average drug addict does what? Well, they plan more for a fishing vacation or a trip to see family than they do for their sobriety. They're going to see family. They'll call ahead of time, maybe get a couple of reservations at a restaurant. Is there a golf course in town? Because I'll bring my clubs. I mean, there's all kinds of planning that goes into a vacation, even if it's 4 days, right? You're going to pack stuff. You're going to maybe buy a new suit, whatever it is that you're doing. But when you start to embark on the most important thing that you're going to do, if there's any hope whatsoever for you having a productive, a safe, and a happy life, any hope whatsoever, you got to get sober. And the average person goes like this. All right, I'm done. And that's about the extent of the plan. I got news for you. When you get drugs, alcohol, or anything else out of your system, all of that crap that happens in your life doesn't stop. It doesn't. I'm not trying to be a buzzkill, but it doesn't. So from the very beginning of your sobriety, what do you do to ensure that fear isn't going to dictate your life? and instead faith in you and whatever else you believe in, your bag of tricks, and faith that tomorrow you're not going to do any dope is going to overcome your fear. And it will start to radiate into every single part of your life. When you no longer fear that you are going to be the screw up that does it again. When you really have faith that, you know what, I'm not doing this. It's over. That part of my life is behind me, right? I could absolutely screw up, people. I'm not the brightest bulb. I got an excellent chance of doing something to offend somebody or saying something stupid. You know what I mean? I spent a decent amount of time living like a Cro-Magnon. I'm very likely to do some really stupid stuff. I am. What I'm not going to do is stick a needle in my arm. I'm not going to get high. Why? I have absolute faith in the plan that I've put into place to ensure that I don't ever do dope again. For instance, we got 20 minutes after 5, right? PM on the West Coast. You can bet your life what I'm going to be doing 365 days a year at this time, because the focus of my life is sobriety, and the focus of my life is talking to other people about sobriety. I'm not saying that you got to start a YouTube channel and do what I do, although I think you should. Honestly, if you got any inclination of starting a YouTube channel, you ought to. You know what, Awaken? Thank you so much. I appreciate you. That is super kind. I really do have the greatest crew in the entire world. That's a super nice comment. And you know what? It does help the vote. The truth of the matter, if you're brand new here and you don't know what the memberships and some of the other stuff goes for, I know a few of you looked around and went, damn, this guy doesn't do a lot of membership stuff. It really is a way for people to donate so that we can assist people with medical assisted treatment. A couple of times we've had to provide some transportation to get people to free rehabilitation centers. It's designed to, the very first year of the lifeboat, we did this. If there was somebody that really wanted to get off of fentanyl and they just weren't in a situation where they could afford this, but they were really serious about it and they could communicate that, well, then we would be willing to step in and make that happen. And Mark and I did a bunch of that. But we didn't have anything coming in. I mean, nothing. You know what I mean? Like we would get a paycheck from YouTube for $130, and we would have put 14 or 15 people over the course of a month into medical assisted treatment. And to be really honest, we went deep in the hole. And then the membership idea came up and some other things, and it really has started to take care of itself, which is a beautiful thing. Thank you so much, Full of Hope. She gifted a membership, so someone else is now a member of the Lifeboat. And we are going to be doing some live stuff. The problem has been the platform that I go through to do what I'm doing right now gets jammed up when I do it, and I try to do it on members only. I did the content. By the way, every once in a while, I'll get an email from somebody that just is offended as hell about the fact that we have memberships. I'm not doing this to get rich. We do this so that we can help people. But more importantly, it never gets in the way of the Lifeboat's promise, right? And the Lifeboat has promised some things. At 5 o'clock in the morning and at 5 o'clock at night. Live on the 5s, we're going to be there. You're going to have a shot at doing a meeting for your sobriety every single day at 5 a.m. and 5 p.m. And sometimes we're going to yuck it up. We're going to have some laughs. We'll have a good time. We'll have subjects that you'll say, what in hell has this got to do with sobriety? It has to do with connection, right? We bring everybody together. And if we can bring up a subject matter that binds people together, even if it's a little friendly back and forth, but we're not going to bring up subject matters that divide. We're not. It's, there's some synergy between other channels and things that people who have a cause make a lot of sense to us, I believe. I truthfully believe that it just makes a lot of sense to those of us on the boat. The Lifeboat has done so much for me that I can never do for it. That's such a kind thing to say, man. It really is. It's such a cool thing to say. And I believe it. I truthfully believe that. This is a group of people that has touched so many lives in a relatively short period of time, man. I don't know that you guys realize this, but right now, 2 years ago, I was doing the first live stream that I ever did on the Lifeboat. No, I apologize. It was not a live stream, but at this time, I was going, I put up my first video, and I had no idea what I was doing, and I put it as an instant premiere, because I thought, well, I've never put it on before. Maybe it's an instant premiere. I had no idea what I was doing. And I put up the video, and that enabled people to chat. if I had been able to stick with that from the first day, I think we'd be a much different channel. However, you can't just go live, right? You have to hit a couple of targets along the way. And I know that all of the old timers are laughing right now, because I remember coming out and telling people, because we hit 1,000 and everyone was like, oh, you can monetize and you've got, and now you can go live and all of these things. And we were like, well, we also have to have 4,000 hours of watch time in a month. And we had already had some hours logged up or whatever, but all of the people from the Lifeboat went on and turned on a phone, a laptop, a tablet. You know, there were four or five people that had 3 or 4 devices each going around the clock. And everybody would come into the live chat and say things like, man, go watch the Lifeboat on everything you got in your house, you know, put it on everywhere. And we got a lot of views and it pushed us over. We monetized in 77 days. But the funniest thing is that was the most productive month we ever had as the Lifeboat in terms of the number of views. And they weren't real. I mean, a lot of them were. We had a lot of people that were watching our content, but we had people that were watching our content 7 times. And it got us the 4,000 hours of watch time that we needed. But this month we have beat that record. This is the best month we've ever had on the Lifeboat, which is exciting as hell. It really is. So now that I've squirreled off in the we promise you a 5 a.m. and a 5 p.m. And if we're doing members only stuff, it's some other time. We're never going to take away from what we promised the crew. And of course, we also promise a cat in a basket. And we're not going to renege on that either. We will be the nation's foremost purveyor of cat in basket anywhere. I challenge you to find a YouTube channel anywhere, and for that matter, you can check Rumble and all the other platforms. Find somebody that has given you more cat in a basket. So fear. This is something that applies to everybody in every phase of life. It doesn't matter if you've been sober for 25 years, but there's something in your life that you want that you're not getting. I guarantee you, you're going to take it back to fear. Fear blocks everything. It really does. It is the emotion that will keep you exactly where you are at in life. What fear seeks to do in us, in all of us, is maintain the status quo. Why? Because anything other than that is scary, right? What is the scariest thing in life? Well, uncertainty, right? That's a bitch. Uncertainty is a toughie. Well, what is uncertainty? Right? It's fear. It's fear of the future. It's fear of the unknown. It's fear of all of these things. And if you don't learn to conquer that, then your odds of staying sober, which is huge, or if you're not an addict, your odds of clicking off the goals that you've set for yourself aren't good. They're not. What you need is faith over fear. If you allow fear to dominate, you're not going to take chances. You're not going to do the things required to get yourself to the next level of sobriety, of success, of a perfect marriage, right? Truthfully sharing your life with somebody or your soul with somebody. All of those things are hampered by fear. And the kick is this. The kick is that once you get the fear thing licked, and I'm not saying fear is not going to come up. I'm saying you're going to learn how to deal with it. But when you see that, I am the only cat in the basket king. When you get to a point where you get your fear under control in a situation, I don't care what the situation is. I really don't. I don't care what the situation is. It could be fear of something that's upcoming. You got an interview, you've got a date, you've got whatever. It could be fear of something challenging in your life, whatever it is. One of the absolute best things about it is if you can conquer the first one, you've all but conquered all of them. But the trick is that you have to be conscious of the fact that you conquered it. Let me elaborate so you don't think I'm an idiot. Something comes up in your life, and you're going back to a high school reunion. People that you haven't seen in 35 years, right? Whatever. And in your town, you kind of had the reputation for being that guy or that gal, right? You did a lot of dope. You drank a lot. You were probably voted most likely to get arrested. Or maybe it was just me, because that's kind of how I am. Now, if I got to go back and visit these people, I'm not just me. That's the dude that robbed the banks, right? That's the guy that, and preparing for something like that will scare the crap out of you if you let it. So I go through an entire process. And if we continue to use that reunion as an example, I just start breaking down why I'm afraid. It's literally just going headlong into it. See, I spent the majority of my life running from fear or hiding from fear or drugging fear, right? I mean, you do 2 shots of heroin and you're pretty much not afraid of anything. It's not a good thing. It's a bad thing. But fear became a non-issue in life. So now you're out and you've got to deal with it. So I take it on head on. How do you do that? Well, okay, so I'm going to a reunion. Why am I scared of this? What is it about this that I'm afraid of? Well, I'm afraid people are probably going to laugh at me, right? Not to my face. They'll come up and say nice things. Hey, I hear you're doing a sobriety thing. That's awesome. I'm so glad you turned your life around. But I know my town. I'm going to turn around and walk away, and they're going to go, can you believe that dude went to prison for how long? What a loser. I don't care. And as I started to really dissect, right, as you start to go down that list, would that bother me? No, not much. But then I also go through an entire checklist. Anytime something like this happens, like I get methodical as hell. Get out a piece of paper, get a pen, right? Start writing all of this stuff down. What happens if I miss this? Is it a big deal if I blow this off? I mean, do I even really want to go? What am I going to get out of this thing if I do go? And more importantly, why am I letting this mess with any of my now time, right? So let's say pick a holiday. I think they do it on a holiday too. Memorial Day, Labor Day. They have a parade in my town where I grew up. Now they do it one of those 2 days. And the reunion's always that day or the next day. I've never gone to one. But it isn't because I'd be afraid to go to one. In fact, I think it'd be a freaking hoot. I think it would be a good time. But I'm using it as an illustration because it doesn't matter how trivial the thing is or how massive the thing is. You have to just take it. You literally have to take it head on. Sit down with a piece of paper and a pencil and write down, why am I afraid? Right? I also play the game, and we've talked about it a lot of times on the lifeboat, but take it through to its final conclusion, right? I go to this high school reunion, and not only do they pick on me, but they do that Carrie thing, and I get dunked in a bucket of pig blood, right? The worst possible outcome that you could ever do, right? I get pantsed at the reunion, and somebody cuts the tires on my car. Whatever. Run it through to its final conclusion in your head. How about off would you be? If I went to that reunion and they mocked the hell out of me and laughed, but I walked out of that puppy and I did it like this with my head high, and I walked out, would it have damaged me? How much would I really let that bother me? Run through. Maybe it would devastate you. Maybe it would. It wouldn't devastate me. Maybe it would have 4 or 5 years ago. I'm proud as hell. Maybe too much, but I'm proud as hell of the guy I am today. I really am. The reason that I do what I do here is because I want people to realize that you can be as far gone as I was and come back from the edge in anything. It doesn't matter whether we're talking about addiction or anything else. The only thing that is going to be a constraint are the things that you cannot control, right? The 95% of this equation is dead square in your lap, including whether or not you're going to allow yourself to be afraid of something. Plain and simple. It may sound like mumbo jumbo. It's not. It's not. My brother Johnny's told the story ad nauseum, so there's no reason for me to go through the entire thing. A lot of you have heard it before. I think he's done it. I don't know how many times he's done it. He's done it a lot because he's been on a long time. But the very first time either of us went skydiving, we went down to a place called Beeville, Texas, to do it. But I'll be really honest with you. I was freaking terrified. And we had talked about it in advance of doing it. There was a plan basically between 3 people to conquer some fears that we had. And the really funny thing is that the guy that we were with, he said he had no fear whatsoever of jumping out of a plane. Nothing. Didn't make his heart race. Nothing. However, he was terrified of the idea of going underwater. You know what I mean? Like scuba diving or whatever. Donna, 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 Donna. Oh no, that's Psycho. But you know what I'm talking about. The fin number. Jimmy Buffett. Fins to the left. Fins to the right. Do I have one parrot head in the audience? Does anyone know what I'm talking about? All right. Sorry. Brain fart. I'm not going to lie to you. The whole brain just shut down. It happens from time to time. If you spend an hour 2 or 3 times a day just talking, your brain starts to do this number. Yeah, come back from the edge from anything, not just addiction. Love that. And it's so true, says Buddha. See, this is a setup. Buddha's actually supposed to keep an eye on things in case I forget what I was talking about. So he just throws it up there and he makes it look slick because Buddha's from Massachusetts. He's a solid cat, but that's what he was doing there. He was bringing me back from the edge, which is what I was talking about. So coming back from the edge, literally, I don't care where it is, people. I don't, because it's all going to be caused by the exact same emotions and it's all going to be caused by the same stuff. It literally is just fear. It is the driving force in so many things. And I'll tell you something. There are times that we have really, I cannot make anything work right. There we go. There are times where our fear is legitimate. Some of us go through some really harrowing times. And there's a difference between fear of you're stepping off a curb and a car is going by and you go, and you jump back out from the curb, right? There is fear that is designed to protect us. We're not talking about stupid fear, right? We all understand the difference. I'm not trying to break this down into the ridiculous, but I'll be honest with you. If I don't do stuff like this, I will get an email from somebody that says, well, if it wasn't for fear, you'd step off high places and you'd land on the ground, and then you'd be in deep trouble. Mind Game 60 says Jimmy Buffett. Yeah, it is. It is Buffett. There's a very common misconception when people talk about about things like being brave and the heroic things and whatever that people do. Brave is not being willing to do anything, right? I've seen those guys. I knew people that had absolutely no fear. That's not brave, right? That's stupid. And prison's full of them. That's how they got there. Guys that walk into banks at high noon carrying a shotgun and yell, "Everybody on the ground!" That kind of bank robbery, the crap you see in movies. There are those lunatics. Monk says boat people rock, and there really is a lot of truth to that. There really is a lot of truth to that. I apologize, people, for squirreling all over the place, but we're talking about the potential of being able to extinguish fear, true bravery, and bravery is addressing fear, realizing it's there, and overcoming it. You're not gonna be fearless, and you wouldn't want to be. Fearless is ignorant. It doesn't. Whether that fear is jumping out of airplanes, you should have a healthy fear of that. I've done it. It's a really good time, but you ought to have a really, really healthy fear of it. And I think that your sobriety should be the same kind of a thing. You know what I mean? Sobriety's fantastic, but you should have a healthy fear of losing it. You should respect it the same way you would bailing out of an airplane. I would put the same kind of love and the same kind of respect on it. But I would make your focus concentrating the next time that you feel fear. The next time you're legitimately scared about something, and I mean even the first start of it, because let's be honest, fear comes in a lot of different shapes. It can be that little twinge all the way up to that your heart's racing, your palms are sweating. We've all gone through that where, fear becomes a full-blown anxiety attack, and it's something that happens to people in recovery unbelievably often. This is something that virtually everybody is going to go through over the course of their sobriety. Hold on one sec, people. Let me make a little adjustment. I'm sorry if the the camera is jumping all over the place. New comments. Here we go. Sorry. A white sport coat and a pink crustacean. That is a Jimmy Buffett album. Sorry. Little known fact. Silver nitrate water filters have a lot of real silver in them. Start recycling your friend's water filter. All right. I had no idea. Violet Gypsy. Your brain can get stuck in a fear loop. I'm currently doing mind-body work based on the work of Dr. John Sarno, now deceased. As I suffer from panic attacks and full body pain, fibromyalgia. I am so sorry to hear that. Fibromyalgia is a nightmare, but this is a great comment. And it's exactly what happens. When you can get yourself stuck, it's something that you can spend decades. There are people who get stuck in that loop and spend the rest of their life in it. But I've done this talk or a version of it because we wing it here. But I've talked about fear so many times on the boat. Of the 1,100 videos, I'm sure there's 100 of them on fear, right? It's a subject matter that comes up all of the time. But the approach of having faith as a way to beat fear, and I'm not talking about religion. I'm not. If you have a faith in God, that's fantastic, and it is another thing in your toolkit, and it may make that toolkit powerful enough that you can conquer any fear. However, you should be really conquering and learning to live with fear because of everything you've got in that toolbox, everything you've got in that that bag of tricks, because that is what we go back to again and again and again, right? It's the basis of how we're going to get by and die without ever using again. Did I just see? I did. I'm all right. I'm visiting my dad. We had pizza last night. Valerie, tell your dad we said hello. Annette, it's good to see you. Glad that you're here. Hi, Tim. Scott, hey. Yes, indeed it is, especially in the tropical weather. Not sure exactly what the reference was on that, but I'm good with it. So what is your bag of tricks? What have you got in yours? I've talked about mine. And here's the way you got to look at your bag of tricks. You need a ripcord, right? Everything we do, it's going to be a 1 and a 10, right? So on a scale of 1 to 10, in how much danger am I of relapse, or how much am I really being triggered or really being pushed on a scale of 1 to 10? Because if the number is a 10, then I'm going to skip to the heavy artillery in my bag of tricks. And the heavy artillery in my bag of tricks, I really need to fix this now, is human interaction. I'm going to reach out and I'm going to call Alan Valentine, right? Or if I don't call Alan, I'm going to call my brother Johnny. And there's a checklist of people whose names I'm going to go down. There's probably 5 or 6 that come to mind instantly. And the odds in this day and age of not being able to get in touch with 5 people is almost impossible, right? I mean, we're connected in so many ways. It should be theoretically possible to get a hold of 1 in 5 at all times, right? Using the different devices and whatnot. Who's that in the background? That would be a clown twirling some pasta. It's an old antique ad from Italy, is my understanding. So that would be the big artillery in my bag of tricks. That's not going to have to come out unless I am really in some danger. So what happens more often than not, as opposed to it being something earth-shattering, I lose somebody in my life. I have a car accident. Something horrendous happens on a scale of 1 to 10. That's going to be a 10. And I'm probably going to start immediately seeking human contact to ensure that I don't fall back into old habits. And what are old habits? Well, when things go really bad, I get high. Or when things go really good, I get high. That was what it is. It wasn't like I wasn't getting high if I was just at a baseline. I was always getting high, but the highs and the lows were excuses. I mean, they really were. I was celebrating, or I was so bummed out I needed to do a little extra dope. And those were huge things for me. Hold on 1 second. My uncle got committed through drink. He spoke of fear building for years. He couldn't unalive himself physically, but it stuck but is stuck in a padded cell for the rest of his life. Didn't know it was possible till he managed it. James R. I am so sorry. I really am. That is absolutely heartbreaking. I am. I honestly, other than saying that is heartbreaking, James, and that I wish I could say something more intelligent that would. I wish I could say something that would knock the sting off of that. I don't know that those words are out there. I don't know that they've ever been put together. I'm glad that you're here. I'm glad that you feel close enough to all of us to share that. For real, that's heavy. It really is. And my thoughts and prayers are with your family. That is, it's a terrible drug, and it's one that not enough people really have a handle on the dangers of that poison. And don't make any mistake whatsoever. It is a poison. I was wondering the same thing. Heather Joy said, "Are you able to visit?" It's, I can't imagine that if you are, it is easy. I can't imagine of anything more difficult, actually. Somehow I set my watch incorrectly today on the date. And there's not much that bums me out more than when a watch is not set perfectly. So in spite of the fact that I'm in the middle of a YouTube video, it's one of those things that I would literally go insane if I didn't fix. I believe, my friend, that damn near killed you. I don't know how it wouldn't. To be really honest, I don't know how it wouldn't. It's heart-wrenching, especially when you take into consideration what caused it. There's not much on this earth that's more painful than seeing somebody really damage themselves through addiction, because you always find yourself thinking that it didn't need to happen. It's just senseless, and it's one of the reasons that so many people gather here. I mean, let's be really honest. Most people come to YouTube to be entertained. And what we do here is, I love everybody here, and we're a lot of fun. But I don't know that I would call what I do entertaining. You know what I mean? It's not like we're cracking jokes. Where is the Sergeant Squirrel? I'll tell you what, that's the best question of the day. See, sadly, I'm at someone else's house. So here, the cat's name is Bagheera. And Bagheera is about that fat around. You know what? This isn't very professional, but I'm Captain Tommy Scoville, and you're on the lifeboat. Okay. Bagheera is here. I'm going to try to see if I can figure out a way to get him on film before the end of this. Maybe I'll get lucky and he'll come down. This cat is just about big enough to put a saddle on. Yeah, there, I said it. You can put a saddle on this horse. I mean, on this cat. Big animal. From the Jungle Book? Well, of course, from the Jungle Book. Do you know another Bagheera? Sobriety is serious stuff. Glad we can all come here and have some fun. Scott, I am too. And you know something? This was something I struggled with really hard the first, 60 times I tried to get sober. I went to so many meetings, and I went to so many places where it always felt like somebody had just died. And after, honestly, going to Bagheera's jet black, of course, after going to a lot of these meetings, one of the things that I realized was someone had died. You know, at a lot of these places I went to, not all of them, but a lot of them, everybody's best friend had recently died. And for most people in the room, that best friend was either methamphetamine or heroin. And I think it is a similar phenomenon that happens also at AA. There are a lot of people for whom this is a very difficult journey. And again, it's going to come back to it again and again and again. One of the emotions that drives that and makes that so difficult is our inability to cope with fear. When you have enough faith in yourself that you can take anything that's coming down the pike, life becomes fun. Sobriety becomes fun. Every day is an adventure. You know what I mean? If you had told me that, we're the going on other people's channels, whether it's AA Ron or whether it was those sobriety people or, hey, snot face, good to see you. It doesn't matter but I can get a phone call and they say, we're going live in 3 minutes, and here's the subject, or we're going to be doing a reaction video. And then there was not a whole lot of time to prepare. And in years past, that would have been a real struggle for me. I'm a guy. I buy, sell, and repair watches. I've got a real thing, right, for vintage watches. My life kind of thinks in terms of time a lot, and Aaron is loose with time. Like, he'll say to you, you want to do something tomorrow? Absolutely. All right, man, I'll reach out to you and I'll get you a link. We'll do it at 10:30. And I'm totally cool with that, which is also a new thing. There was a time in my life where that would have driven me insane and it would have made me not like the guy. But I've come to realize that everybody's different. And I just sort of let people, live their life. And I dig Aaron. I dig everything about him. I dig the fact that he's really laid back and loose. I do. But that kind of just, all right, we're going live, let's do this, no prep, would have been something that would have welled up a little fear in the back of the throat. In years past, that would have been uncomfortable, would have been a struggle for me. But I really have got to a point where, okay, let's break it down. Get a pencil, get a piece of paper, and start writing down, why is that a bummer? Well, because I like to be prepared when I go on, and the last thing that I want is to sound stupid. Okay, break it down. What could make you what would make people think that you didn't sound intelligent? I mean, I know that if I go on that show, he's going to be asking me about what? More than likely prison, right? I don't need to study anything on that. There's nothing logical to cause me any fear about going on that show, whether there's 30 seconds notice or 5 seconds notice. I just tell stories from when I was in prison. There's nothing to it. They've already happened. There's no study required. But it's so easy to forget all logic and just allow fear to get you. And why? Because we've learned that, right? That striatum, that part of our brain, what is it saying to us? Hey, Kay, it's saying to you, oh no, you're doing something on short notice and you're not prepared. What has happened every time that's happened to you? The striatum goes, oh crap. Do you remember that time you went on a national television program with a little device to show people how you could surf the internet through the television set, and the device didn't work? And on live TV in front of about 1 million people, they sat and mocked you for 3 minutes. It was a 3-minute segment. And instead of just going to commercial or doing anything like that, no, they didn't do that. They said things like, well, if your little box was doing anything, what would we be seeing? And they would snicker back and forth between each other while sweat poured off my body while I was sweating rings through a suit. It was really a whole lot of fun. But that's in my striatum, that memory of what happened to me that time when I wasn't perfectly prepared for something that I had to do. So now if I hear, well, we're going live in 5, and my first thought is, well, I'm really not prepared, the striatum takes over. And now I'm back in that fear loop, but I'm not. I would have been. I spent years like that because I had no concept whatsoever of how to get out of that. The last thing in the world that made any sense to me was, well, maybe it's a good idea to sit down and think about the fear. Instead of running from it, sit down and think about it. What the hell am I afraid of? What's the worst possible case scenario? Let's think about the worst thing that could possibly happen. Take it to its final conclusion. Yeah, that's not a bad comparison, actually. Jennifer Rice. It's not Jennifer Rice. Funny, I went to New England to see where they filmed Murder, She Wrote. But I got to see On Golden Pond. So then I had to go to Cali to see Mendocino to see the real murder set. You also drove through where they filmed Funny Farm. I know a little bit about your vacation. And you did drive through the town where they filmed Funny Farm. I know because I was there. So absolutely, you drove through that too. Good night, Al. Just checking in. Love you. We love you too, Snotface. And I love being able to come on the air and just say Snotface. Which is one of those things that, you know what I mean? As an adult, you don't figure at 53 years old, you'll be able to go worldwide and rip off Snotface like 6 or 7 times, not getting any trouble for it. It's like not having to grow up. Snotface, you're the best. Slash is cool. I assume we're referring to Slash from GNR. Slash's mother dated David Bowie when Slash was a kid. I'll be damned, I didn't know that. But I am absolutely a fan of Slash's music. I think Slash has done some really incredible stuff. The riff for "Sweet Child of Mine" is just one of those things that every time I hear it, and I've told you guys, I really kind of had to take a very big hiatus on all things Appetite for Destruction. It's not so bad if I listen to some of the other stuff, but if I'm listening to Appetite for Destruction, I find myself fairly ridiculously triggered. It really just brings me back to a time when things weren't particularly good, and I don't like sitting and thinking about dope any more than I have to. Good night, love y'all. I'll be sleeping the rest of 5 p.m. lives, so see you sometime. Full of hope. I hope you get sleep. You have put in a tremendous amount of time and done an amazing amount of good. Get some sleep, hon. You've earned it. Thank you, Full of Hope, for everything you do. I'm a great crew member on this boat, in spite of the fact that she's in Ireland, because you know how those Irish are. Oh, I just said that because I know she hasn't left yet. She's got a smile that, it seems to me, reminds me of childhood. Yep, I see that. Come on, Guns N' Roses, The Spaghetti Incident. How is that a good band? I really enjoyed early Guns N' Roses. Absolutely dug it. That first album, that Appetite for Destruction album, I think is just it epitomizes the hair band 80s rock, and it was like the almost like the over the top example of that genre, and it is a damn good one. My first karaoke, Tommy, says James R. See, he gets it. He gets it. Well, the person telling me was wrong then. Yes, we do. And I will make sure that happens. I'm sorry, I'm looking, but I'm looking and I'm looking. And I'm looking, and I'm not doing a very good job. I thought I saw somebody that wrote that I'm wrong, but I didn't know what you were wrong about. Fancy Face. I do not remember saying, welcome to the lifeboat, Fancy Face. It's not as much fun as Snot Face, but Fancy Face is still pretty damn cool. Welcome to the lifeboat, Fancy Face. We're glad that you're here. Tonight, we're talking about faith over fear. You know what, people? It's a good one to wrap up with. You know, just sort of bringing it all back in. But faith over fear. Have faith in yourself. Have faith in your sobriety. Have faith in the people in your five, that they're not going to let you go through this alone. If you reach out to those 5 individuals, but you got to know who those 5 are. Those 5 got to know that they're your 5. There needs to be some bulletproof communication, right? You meet the people over on the Facebook group page here for the lifeboat, or you meet them right here talking, and you say, you know, there are ways that you can reach out to us, and we can put people together with phone numbers and texts and things like that, so that you can make acquaintances on here. And you know, I never would have believed in a minute that when I put together my support family of people, that the first call I made would be to Australia. But that's the way it is. You know, it's hello, KJ. I'm glad that you are here. I wish I recognized what flag that was, because I would sound intelligent, but I can't see it in that size. Miss Dragon, member for 7 months. Miss Dragon's got some new content up that you need to go see. Will you put up a link to your page, Miss Dragon, please? Miss Dragon does content that is, let's put it this way, it is lifeboat approved in every way, shape, and form. I wholeheartedly endorse that channel. And you know, people, I don't do a lot of that, but there are some people now that are really putting up some great stuff. Obviously Heather Joy, you know, is doing amazing work here. But absolutely, I'm sorry. Yesterday's baggage, I thought that's what it said. Yesterday's baggage is getting lighter. Be really honest with me, people. I want you to put a 2 up in the comment section. if reading that comment didn't have an effect on you like it did me. Yesterday's baggage is getting lighter. To me, people, that is the dream of this boat. And that's just what we're talking about today. The faith in the fact that, you know what, it's going to get lighter. The faith that this is something that I can handle, and it's going to continue to get better. I am going to assemble a set of tools that are going to enable me to do exactly what needs to happen for me to stay sober. Right? It's what it is. And I then will have enough faith in that toolbox that it will be faith over fear. And I got a secret for you. It doesn't have to be drugs. It doesn't have to be alcohol. Right? What is it you're struggling with? Are you having a tough time in your relationship with your significant other? Right? Are you separated from whatever it is that you believe? Because a person needs to have a belief, even if that belief is nothing. I think that it needs to be clearly defined in a person's head. And very often when we're in the life and we're wasted, maintaining that kind of a relationship to whatever you believe goes away. And so does anything else that is above basic survival: food, shelter, drugs. Right? That's it. Everything else takes a back seat. But I am here to say, Lady Spellbreaker, thank you for all you do. Good to see you here. But I am here to say today that it's possible. It's possible to sit down and literally write down what you are afraid of and beat it, one fear at a time. And then you will get to a point where it becomes a second nature, and you don't have to sit down and run it through paper. You'll do it in your head. You'll be sitting there waiting to get on an airplane, freaking out about 6 things that you should have had done. I'm getting ready to fly tonight. Can you tell? I am going to be leaving super, super, super late night tonight to fly to. Anybody know where I'm going? Can someone help me? Just type it into the comment section if you happen to know where I booked flights to. I'm going to Nevada to take care of some business. So I may do a little broadcasting from the airport. We shall see. But already, folks, I've been told I say peeps too much. So I'm trying to cut down on the whole peeps thing. So if by some chance you peeps see me doing it, maybe write it down or something. You're doing it again, Captain, But instead, tonight I will say, well, it has been fantastic spending time with all of you. I'm sorry that, see, she gets it. I like peeps too. And I'm hoping the internet is going to be back up and running soon. I would have liked to have put up a lot more content in the last couple of days. We are celebrating, people. We are at the end of we're at the 2-year run. This is it. So we're celebrating. If I get internet access back, I promise you I'm going to be doing more content because I'm having a very good time. Apparently everybody likes peeps. So you know what? We're sticking with peeps. All right. Yeah, I said it. All right, peeps. Everybody have a good night. I wish I had a cat in a basket. I don't think you have any idea how much I wish I had a cat in a basket. And this right here, you know what that is? I'm going to do that at the end of all the shows from this point on. You can remember the day that I did it, but I'm doing that for this point on. That's for the lost addict. It's for the person that's still out there. The person that hasn't quite got there yet. The person that is still out there. That one is going to be for them every single time. That's how I want to end from now on. I think it's a good way to end. I have a cat on a couch. Excellent. You know what? I wish I could get Bagheera. But he's so high on top of a cabinet that there's just not going to be any way to get him. But I'll get a picture of him, I promise you. Make sure to give yourself as much love as you give away. That's a good piece of advice. So that one is for the addict that's still out there. And I am Captain Tommy Scoville, and you are on the lifeboat, where every day is a good day not to be in active addiction. God bless. I miss squirrels.